guys, Samantha from Samantha Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be creating a pair of earrings inspired by a blue jay. Now there should be a photo of a blue jay on screen right now, and that is the photo that I'm using for inspiration. Now I've also got some Primo polymer clay over here. This is Primo Ultramarine and Primo Turquoise. We are also going to be using Primo Pale Blue and White and Black, again in Primo. For now we're just going to work with these two. And let me just bring it out a little, there we go, and a little closer. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out a square from each, and this will just make it easier to work with the right amount of clay. These were rolled out on the the middle setting of my pasta machine, and I should press down properly to cut that out. There we go. Okay, and I'm also going to cut out a piece of pale blue, and this was also run out on the same setting. Okay, cut the ultramarine blue and the turquoise into triangles, and then just flip them on each other so that you double them up into a triangle. And don't worry about the pale blue, we'll do that in a sec. Just going to work with these two for now. Pick them up, and because we used a cutter there's going to be a little bit of residue, so before I move on just wipe that off so that you don't end up getting that on your clay by accident. And I'm just going to take those two and I'm going to put them together in a slightly offset square like you would any other Skinner blend. Okay, and then I'm going to take the pale blue and I'm going to place that over the top as well, and maybe give it a little stretch so that it reaches to the other end. And this is going to tint our Skinner blend. You can do this with any colour you want to use to tint a blend. And what we'll do is, instead of having to mix two separate colours and then create a Skinner blend, it's just going to be doing two in one. So you're going to roll that through the pasta machine, like so. So I just ran through the two colours, and then I have done detailed Skinner blends before, so I'm just going to show you the rough basics of this. If you want a detailed version of a Skinner blend, please look it up on my channel. I've got a number of tutorials that go really in depth, show the pasta machine and everything. But you're just going to fold it over the same way you usually would with a Skinner blend, and it's going to incorporate that pale blue in, and you should get a nice Skinner blend afterwards. Okay. And this is how it comes out. Now I have done the exact same thing, just without the pale blue, and this is how that blend will come out, and you can see how it is tinted. Now the reason I've done two blends is because I'm going to lay them over each other and kind of create a feathered effect. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm just checking how much clay I have, because we basically have one extra square of clay in here. There's going to be more. This one I'm going to run down 2 settings thinner so that I can stretch it over and cover the whole piece. And just to confirm, that was a pasta machine I ran it through. There we go. And then just lay that over the top, like so. Make sure you smooth out the bubbles. Okay, and there's one little bubble here that I need to remove. Just slip the clay to the side and then smooth the bubble out. Pick that up and trim around the edge so that you've got a clean blend. And all of these trimmings that we've got here can be used in scrap clay techniques. I have a lot of videos like that on my channel as well if you're interested. But yeah, these are really good scraps, so don't worry about using those. They will look nice in just about everything. Okay, and there I'll show you the side there. That's how it looks. Then we're going to stack these on top of each other. So just cut like so. Place them down on top. cut again, lift up, place it down, and just repeat up the whole length of the piece. There we go. Then all I want to do is just condense this down. So I'm going to press along the top here. And I don't need to worry about these lines being straight, because by doing this you're going to be, the lines will distort a little bit, which is actually something I want. If you don't want that, then make sure that the cane is the size that you need it before cutting it, which means this part of the skinner blend before you assemble it should be shorter. But I want the pieces to distort just a little bit, so I'm going to reduce this down now. And that's just pressing down on the sides and trying to expand this bit out. And you can use your roller. I do sometimes use my roller, but I find I get better results if I just use my hands. Okay. And just continue doing that until you're comfortable. I'm going to do it until I can cut it in half essentially and stack it together. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but that's how wide I want it. Okay, there we go. Then I am going to just trim these ends because they will have distorted a bit. And you can see there how it is, it kind of gets a feathery effect if you reduce it down like that. And I am going to stack it. So when you pick it up, don't put them together so that you have the double line there. You want to take one of the pieces, turn it over, and put it together so you repeat that lined pattern. Okay, then press that all together, make sure that it's all one piece, and then we can introduce some black stripes. Okay. There we go. So we've got our little stripe cane there. We're going to be introducing black stripes, but I also am going to be putting a white cap on the darker blue edge. All I'll do to do that is I will trim this so that it's straight, like so. Then I'm going to grab the piece of white, and this was rolled out on the metal setting of my pasta machine like we first started with our skinner blend. And I am going to stack that 3 times. And you don't need to be too precise with this, I'm just stacking that 3 times so that we get a thick piece. Then I'm going to put that just on top, dark side down. And I'm going to trim the white so that it fits the shape of the cane. So that up, and that's just going to be a little white cap. And actually, before I attach that, do I want to attach that? I should probably put a black strip there now that I look at the photo. Yes, there should be a black piece between this and this, so I'll bring over the black. Also, same setting as everything else. Just going to cut that away from the sheet so I don't have to worry about that. I will cut that to size, and then I will put the white on. Then we will introduce the black in a second. So I'm kind of imitating the feathers, or at least one feather anyway, but I'm not going to be doing it exactly. And then we'll pop the white on there. There we go. Then again, just like before, press down on all of those edges just to get it to blend together and be one piece rather than 3 pieces all kind of stuck together, because now at this point we're going to be creating a half leaf shape. So this end over here is going to be tapered, and this is going to be kind of a rounding. Think of kind of a half teardrop shape, but you first want these pieces to be well stuck together, so just spend some time doing what I'm doing here. Okay, and that should do. Then I'm going to lie it down on its side, and the blue side I'm going to press in so that it rounds it out a little bit. Okay, and that will help us start our taper. Then I can pick it up and just press down. And you can use the work surface. I'm using a glazed ceramic tile just to get that taper going. And the cutter that we're going to be using is kind of a teardrop shape. You can even, if you're going to be using a different cutter, you can reference one on the internet. You just want a half teardrop shape. In this end I'm also going to press down so that we start rounding it out. And this one face will be flat. And just keep going and then looking, and just keep doing that until you are happy with the shape. We are going to still fuss with it again because we need to put in some more black lines, so we will fuss with it a bit more, but it's roughly in that teardrop shape. Okay, then I would advise marking out where you're going to cut the clay. I have marked out 4 pieces here, and this is where we're going to put in the black stripes. And just take those markers and try your best to cut as straight as you can, downwise anyway. Okay, and then separate those out. Grab the black sheet of clay from before, and I'm just going to cut out a strip to make this easier. Trim one end flush. Just finding a good spot to do this. Grab that. Place that down. Trim the black to size. And everything I'm doing with this piece you'll do for all of the other little gaps. And just bear with me for one moment while I finish this one up. There we go. Lift it up. And once you've done it, place those back together. Repeat the process for the other 3 gaps. There we go. Then just place that flat side down onto your tile again and just remold that shape, and this time make sure that it is the exact shape that you want. So this end I want to round out quite a bit more while tapering this end a bit, and this should distort those lines a little more while blending them into the clay so that it's one piece. But I did want it roughly in the right shape before I started this process. But there, just fuss with that until you are happy with the shape. There we go. Now generally with the canes I would then cut this in half and put the 2 pieces together to create the shape, but I find that it's easier if you have a nice flat side to then cut the clay so that you don't end up with a distortion, because if you were to put these 2 halves together you would have a fairly round shape on multiple ends, and so it would be difficult to cut it. So I'd recommend leaving it in a half shape like that, cutting out the pieces and then putting them together, unless you want to make this significantly smaller. But I have made it so that it fits the cutter that I am going to be using, so fit it to whatever you plan to use to cut out. Now give this some time to rest because it is quite soft at the moment and will distort very easily, so just give this at least 10 minutes to rest. I'd recommend an hour, but we're all impatient, so 10 minutes will do the trick. Okay, now in the meantime while we're waiting for that, I've got a piece of black here, and this is kind of leftover black, it's got stuff in it that was run out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. I'm just going to burnish that down because we've got a couple air bubbles on the underneath that I want to get rid of, and I want to create a stamp specifically to texture this piece. And all you're going to need is something that fits the cutter that you're going to use. So I'm going to just use this little square here, and I'm just gently going to mark out roughly where I need it, and then I have a nail brush, and this does a great job of creating a fine fur-like texture. And I'm just going to scrape that into the clay, getting a deep but fine texture, because I can't do this with the piece once we've actually cut it out, or even when we cut the cane slices up, because it will end up distorting and creating kind of a mess all over it. So I do need a texture stamp, so I'm going to make myself a little one. Nail brush does a good job. You can use sandpaper as well. I'm just going to cut out what I'll need. That can go back with the rest of my clay. And it is leftover, so it's got a lot of bubbles and such, but this will work. Lift that up, and I'm going to bake that for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature, so I am actually going to be forced to wait an hour before I can cut this. But if you want to do that, you can. If you want to use a regular texture stamp, you can, or you can skip the texture part that we're going to be doing in this tutorial. Okay, so it's been about an hour. Let this cool, and here is how it will look. If you are interested in this kind of stamp, I do have one linked below where I make it on my Etsy store, Jessamine Design. But as you can see, you can make one easily at home if you wanted to. Now I've decided to use a smaller teardrop cutter because I just think it's going to end up looking cute for the earrings. And then I also have our cane. I've already done the first earring, so it's already been cut. But you'll just take that side down and just press that onto your tile. And we're going to cut two slices that are just about the same thickness as one another. Okay, that's the first one. And this is why I recommended letting it sit for a bit, because it will be firm and less likely to kind of squish, and it will just make cutting out those slices much easier. And then just take those, reverse one of them, and place them together. Just mirroring that. Check the back as well, because this is going to be a double-sided piece. Then I've got a little tile. I've got a hair on the back there, because my cat likes to include herself in everything. Let me know in the comments if you have pets. We'll just place that down on the tile. I'll grab a piece of paper. I'm just going to give that a burnish so that it's all bonded together. And we'll do all of this before texturing it. Now for the next step, I'm going to be using water to allow the stamp not to stick to the clay. If you're using a deeper texture, I would recommend using cornstarch. I just find it a better release. Some people use almond oil, which also works really well. I don't have any at the moment, so I'm using cornstarch or water. But yeah, I'm going to be using water for this. There we go, that should be good. It is, except for a little white bit there, and it's kind of gone out from one another there, so I'm just going to squish that back in on itself and then continue burnishing. There we go. Now I'm just going to drop like 1 or 2 drops of water on there, spread that around, and also important is to drip some water onto the stamp as well. If you're using cornstarch, do the exact same thing. Pop some on the clay and the stamp, just to ensure the stamp doesn't stick to the clay. Okay. Now I'll just take that, and I'm going to make sure that the lines are going, instead of perpendicular, I'm going to put them parallel to the feather lines. Place that down, and you can use your roller. I'm just going to use my hands to press this down, like so. I'll show you the whole thing. It shouldn't take too long to do this. Okay, and just smooth along, make sure that you get the whole thing. Okay, lift up, and there, hopefully you can see there the very light texture that we've got going on. And then I'll bring over the cutter and I'm going to line it up so we've got a little bit of white on the bottom, and so that I want the kind of V formation to be straight and lined up. So bear with me for 1 second while I do that. Okay, that should do. Press down. Make sure that you get a good... My cat is running all over the place, so I apologise for that sound in the background. There we go. Lift this little bit up. And then if you want to, you can keep this, just bake it like it is and it should pop straight out. But I don't want to use that, so I'm not going to bake it. So I will just lift it out like so. Then just use something just to kind of dry up the water. I would recommend leaving it for a little bit just to let that water evaporate. Though actually you can pop it into the oven. It's not liquid clay. Should be perfectly fine. There's our one piece, and I've got another piece on another tile here. I'm going to bake that for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Then when it's done, we're going to give the back a sand so that we've got double-sided pieces and we can finish them off. Okay, and they're out of the oven. I took them off the tile once they'd cooled, and you can see here, this is why I typically don't bake on the tile if I can avoid it, because they will have this really shiny back. Let me see if I can angle that correctly. And the thing is, although it's shiny, hopefully you can see there how uneven and pitted it comes out looking. Let me see if I can show this one. Just trying to catch the light there. Don't know if I'm going to be able to show that one exactly. There we go. This one is a lot smoother. If you can get it right, it can be a really nice shiny finish, but in general it will come out with pits. Now this one I didn't want to pick off the tile because it can end up distorting the shape. I've shown how to work on pieces of paper before, but for this one we're just going to give the back a light sand, and I'm going to bring over a polishing paper. It is part of a set, and there's a bunch of different grits all in order, and this works quite well for pieces that only need a light sand. Now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to circle it over the piece, and only a light sand. If you want something a little more heavy duty, use wet dry sandpaper, and these you can clean underwater when you're done with them. Okay, and then I've started with this one, but I'm going to go up through all of the grits to give it a light satin finish. Okay, there we go. Finish that up and it will give a light satin finish. So now we are ready to finish off these pieces. I am going to give the tops a little drill with a pin drill. Let me go grab that. Okay, and here is the pin drill, and all you do is you just pop it down wherever you want the hole and spin. And if it's polymer clay, it should go through really quickly and easily. Resin will take a fair bit longer. Here we go. Nice clean hole. Okay, and I have already done the other one. Then I'm going to bring over this jump ring, and it might be a little small, so I might need to swap it out, but it's a nice small one. If I can get it really small, that will be best. Pop that through. Bring over a ear wire, and this actually might end up being just the perfect size. Just close that up. See if it hangs well. Then it actually is perfect. I'm going to do the other one as well. Okay, and there we go. Really nice and simple. Really happy with how these turned out. I think that the lines that we put into the cane, as you can see here, I think those really make quite a difference. I really am happy with how this turned out, and I really like the texture. You don't have to put the texture in, but I think it works really well to enhance that kind of feathered effect. If you wanted it to be a double-sided texture, you might need to do 2 bakes, or you could kind of squish the piece between 2 texture stamps if you wanted to, but then cutting it might flatten the texture, so you might need to do 2 bakes and 2 layers. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how that turned out. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It is greatly appreciated. And if you would like to support the channel further, there is a membership button below this video and or a Patreon link in the description. That is also greatly appreciated if you want to lend the support. But yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.